r/s credit. What's a really fucked up thing you've witnessed as a kid but didn't realize it was until you were older? My mother used to drive home from the hospital she worked at, hires balls from the morphine she had stolen, and then crawl into my bed and pass out. I used to scream at my dad to come get her out of my room so I could finish my homework and go to sleep for school the next day. It's a miracle the woman didn't kill anyone on her drives home. I had a friend who molested his little sister in front of me when we were around 7 to 8 and told me I could take a turn next. I left immediately, never went back, and never told anyone. I thought it was bad, but I had no idea I was seeing one of the worst crimes known to man. I still feel so much regret that I didn't tell anyone, but at that age, I was kind of shocked and traumatized by just being there. I'm so sorry I let you down, Amy. I'm a teacher now, and I have a near perfect record of recognizing kids who really needed to see a counselor. I'm trying my best to make sure it never happens again if I'm around. Duck, just telling that story is killing me inside. When I was 3, I was separated from my mom in the grocery store. Some random lady took my hand and began to walk me out of the store. I was too little to think anything of it. My mom stopped her at the door and said, "Excuse me, that's not your child." Suddenly the lady was gone, and our day proceeded. Wasn't till I was a grown up that I realized I was almost kidnapped. My mom would spend the entire day on the computer in AOL chat rooms talking to her friend while dad was at work. She was so glued to the computer that my siblings and I could walk in the room and yell things at her trying to get her attention, and she wouldn't even notice us. We took care of ourselves. I was like 10 at the oldest, and I was forced to bottle feed my baby brother during this time and take care of him because my mom just wouldn't otherwise. What I really hate is that I'm pretty sure I told my dad that I was having to be his caretaker and he didn't do anything to make the situation better for me. I don't know if he knew she was having this emotional affair or not, but how could he not have? Anyway, one day my mom decided we were going to leave my dad while he was at work so she could run off and be with this friend. She took myself and my 5 younger siblings while my dad was at work and drove us on a cross-country road trip from NV to O to surprise her online lover, who was also married, and once we got to Ohio and she told him we were there, he freaked and ghosted her. At the time, the situation was confusing for me because my siblings and I just wanted to go home. It clicked later that my mom has always been a very emotional, unstable person, and my siblings and I all have heavy trauma now as adults because of it. When I was 8, I took care of my father in home who was dying of AIDS. Mom wasn't in the picture. None of the adult family wanted to be near him and help out because they all said it was contagious. This was the 90s and HIV ignorance was still at an all-time high. I changed his diapers, showered him, fed him, gave him his pills. Until he died. As a kid, that was my normal. I didn't realize it at the time, but it really fucked me up. He was my hero and the strongest man alive to me, and seeing him in such a vulnerable state and reduced to nothing really messed up my brain. It just kinda numbed me. Literally did not / could not cry for 12 whole years after that. I still struggle nowadays to feel what I'm supposed to feel in certain situations, but I've gotten a lot better and am definitely more in touch with my emotions. When I was 8 to 9, my biology teacher picked 2 students, one male and one female, and told them to undress so that we could see an example of the human anatomy. I only realized it was fucked up when I verbalized it to my mom a decade later. My mom's cousin was raised by my grandparents and I would stay there often. I was 7/8. Back in the day I think it was HBO or something would show porn after a certain time at night. He would only let me watch TV at night if it was on that channel in his room, and then after I was done watching the movie the porn would start playing. He wouldn't be in the room, but he would check to make sure I didn't change the channel. I would get weirded out and just turn the TV off. It was so weird BC he wouldn't say anything but insist I could only watch that channel at night. It also had to be loud enough that he could hear it outside the room. He would also leave his porn magazines open and laying around in his room when I would sleep over and then ask me to get him stuff in his room that were right by the magazines. I remember asking my mom why I didn't have hair like the girls in his magazines and she lost her mind. He lied and said I was snooping and that he caught me looking at porn on TV. My mom didn't believe him and my grandfather cancelled the cable and had him moved to the efficiency they had. He was super mad at me and barely spoke to me after that. I couldn't understand why he was mad because I never told on him and I felt like I had done something wrong. Edit. An efficiency is a room converted into a studio. Usually a room in a house I sectioned off and a door is added for a private entry. My grandparents made one for when family came, so it also had a door that led into the house. Usually that room is rented out. It's a Miami word. When I was in elementary school, I became close friends with a family that had children similar in age to me. I only ever saw them at school with their mom and my dad. The oldest daughter and son couldn't stand me, and I never knew why, so I would cry and talk to my dad about it, and he would reassure me that they did in fact like me. During this time, we had a landline at the house and I happened to pick it up one day and heard my dad on the other line with the mom of that family. He was talking about giving her roses and spending time with her. When I asked my dad who that was, because it clearly wasn't my mom, he disconnected all the landlines in the house. Turns out, he was absolutely cheating on my mom with this woman, and I was inadvertently involved by becoming their friends. Was a pretty shit situation in the end. When I was a kid, all the kids would sleep in the basement on Christmas Eve to give space for Santa to drop off the presents. That night there was a lot of noise coming from outside on the street, but we couldn't see anything because there was snow covering the egress. My mom came downstairs and told us to stay there. But soon we heard sirens and saw police lights reflecting in the snow. There was a lot of commotion that we couldn't see. Then my dad came downstairs with the very real Santa Claus. He told us that his sleigh crashed in the snow and that the kind police officers were helping him get unstuck, and while they were working he was visiting the kids in the neighborhood. He pulled out a present for each of us and sat with my family while we opened them and sang a few Christmas songs. When things calmed down outside he went back to delivering toys. Years later I learned that there was a large gang fight outside of our house and that a few people died right outside. An older man from our church lived down the road and, knowing my parents had undoubtedly scared children at home, put on his Santa suit and came over once the police arrived. Santa was a hero to me as a child, but that man is a hero to me now. Goodbye, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.